to step up and do something quickly and put everything aside. Moderna was one of those companies. We authorized grant funding. We set the groundwork for public-private partnerships. We stood up new institutions, all with the purpose that if something like a pandemic happened, something would be quickly developed. Well, when we did it in 2020, Moderna responded, to their credit. I'm not defending any salaries. I'm defending any profit. What I am defending and pointing out is the great benefit our country and the world received from this technology that was translated out of a lab into clinical practice. Now, others did not make the same choice as Moderna. And I will say, it is important that through this hearing and otherwise, that we do not send a hostile signal to future prospective partners. You say, coming back at you. That would mean a future company how Moderna will price their vaccine post-commercialization. We're interested in that. We've never been in this situation before where a company has taken the reins back from the federal government after the federal government controlled distribution of the product. But this is not the time to discuss eliminating intellectual property rights or destroying business models of those whom our country will need to respond to the next pandemic and to develop the next life-changing cure. And we can't live in a fantasy world and pretend that what we do in this committee will not affect those future decisions. I want people to know that this committee is doing whatever it can to encourage cures for cancer, Alzheimer's, ALS, and other devastating disease. And if they do, and if a private company does it, they shall be rewarded. Lives depend upon it. Senator Sanders, we have pledged to work together. But I will say that if the purpose of the hearing is to demonize capitalism, we should not hate the thought of a person or a company making a profit, that we lose sight of the ideas and accomplishments that their profit is rewarding. We can't be a country that encourages citizens and companies to succeed and step up and make a difference and then shames them when they do. If we want to consider real policies that work to lower the cost Americans pay for medicines, let's work together. Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from our witness.
Thank you very much, Senator Cassidy. We will now turn to our witness. Mr. Stéphane Bancel is the Chief Executive Officer of Moderna. Mr. Bancel, thank you very much for being with us. You may proceed with your testimony.
Chairman Sanders, Ranking Member Cassidy, distinguished members of the committee, good morning. My name is Stéphane Bancel, and I'm the CEO of Moderna. While I speak with an accent, I lead a company that is an American success story. After losing money for 10 years, Moderna created a vaccine that helped end the pandemic. We were able to move quickly because of a decade of private investment in our mRNA platform and because of a decision in 2016 to build a manufacturing plant in Massachusetts. We made these investments before most people had heard of mRNA. Over Christmas break 2019, I read about an outbreak of pneumonia-like illness in Wuhan, China. I immediately reached out to the US government because I believed our mRNA technology could make a difference. 2 days after Chinese scientists put the genetic sequence online, our team created mRNA 1273, our COVID vaccine. As the world shut down in March, we moved faster. Every day brought new pressure as case counts and deaths rose in the country and around the world. I am so grateful for our teams who worked relentlessly, including Saturdays and Sundays, locked down from home and from our lab and our factory. In the spring of 2020, we worked through Operation Warp Speed to develop a vaccine faster than we could have done alone. The US government gave us, and 4 other vaccine companies, funding to accelerate clinical trials. We thank our partners in the federal government for their support. We built our mRNA platform before the pandemic with $3.8 billion of private investment. In May 2020, we raised an additional $1.3 billion from shareholders for manufacturing scale-up for the pandemic. In November, I received long-awaited news. The result of our phase 3 study showed that our vaccine was 94% effective at preventing COVID. I literally cried tears of joy and relief. We had accomplished in 10 months what would normally take 10 years. After a decade of building our mRNA platform, we had changed the future of medicine. Vaccine brought relief in a hospital system, put children and teachers back in classrooms, reopened our economy, and made it safe to reconnect in person. We're under no obligation to do so, but recognizing the US government investment, our company decided to provide the government a discount versus the other mRNA vaccine. While the government provided $1.7 billion in grant funding, Moderna returned $2.9 billion. The US vaccination program is responsible for an estimated $5 trillion economic value, prevention of 18 million hospitalizations in this country, and 3 million American lives saved. Innovations like our vaccine can only happen in America. The public-private partnership of Operation Warp Speed enabled a world-leading response to a crippling pandemic. We at Moderna, along with the people of this country and the people of the world, owe the US government a debt of gratitude. Let me now address the transition from pandemic to endemic. First, can get one at a location convenient to them. With this role comes increased complexity and increased risk. In the pandemic market, we had one customer, the US government. In the endemic market, we're going to have 10,000 customers. In the pandemic market, the US government took the risk for wasted doses. In the endemic market, Moderna will take that risk and that cost. In the pandemic market, we only had to deliver to 3 CDC warehouses. In the endemic market, we're going to have to manage logistics to deliver to 60,000 pharmacies, doctor's office, and hospital. In the pandemic market, we had one vial with 10 doses in there. In the endemic market, what the market requires is single-dose vial, or even better, pre-filled syringe. On top of all this, we're expecting a 90%, 90, reduction in demand. As you can see, we're losing economies of scale. We must deal with supply chain complexity, and we must assume the wastage risk and cost that the US government used to assume. So what's next for Moderna? This year, we're investing $4.5 billion in R&D. We are working hard on developing medicines to treat cancer, cystic fibrosis, multiple sclerosis, and very other important diseases. Thank you for the opportunity to share our story and our perspective.
Mr. Bancel, thank you very much for your testimony. You sent us I think it's a 9-page, single-spaced document, longer than your testimony. We appreciate that. But in these 9 pages, as I read it, you did not mention the National Institute of Health, the NIH, once, nor the research that they did. As I mentioned earlier, according to a letter I recently received from the NIH, distributed to all members, what the NIH says is that 3 scientists at the NIH, quote, are co-inventors and were integral members of a collaborative team of scientists working to design and produce it. That's the scientists at the NIH, not to mention the many billions of dollars of federal government that came to Moderna in order to produce the vaccine and do the clinical trials. How come, in your judgment, what role did the NIH play in co-authoring and developing this vaccine?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start by saying that we have a lot of respect, great respect for the NIH team, and we believe what the NIH does for this country and for the world is really important to advance science that industry might not fund. What happened when the sequence came online is our team at Moderna were working on the technology. The way one needs to think about Moderna is like an operating system. What we spent 10 years doing is developing all the tools to make products.
I don't mean to be rude, but isn't it absolutely true that the NIH was also doing that, had done research for many years on that same area?
So what is correct, Mr. Chairman, is that the NIH has worked on the virus and on the protein. So what our team did is develop the mRNA molecule. What the NIH did, which was a great confirmation, is they designed the same protein than our team did in parallel. But the design of the mRNA vaccine was done by our team. This is our technology.
The NIH considers themselves to be co-authors of the vaccine. Do you disagree?
So our team have been working through that discussion for quite a while. We had agreed to disagree. The team is following US IP law, which is very important. And what we've done to close the matter is we actually have decided to abandon that patent. We have abandoned that patent. The NIH is aware of it. And we're moving on because we cannot agree on what happened. The mRNA molecule was designed by the Moderna team. That is our technology.
Mr. Bancel, in terms of the role that the U.S. government and taxpayers of this country had in terms of the success of Moderna, let me read to you a quote from Boston Magazine, June 4th, 2020. And the quote says, quote, "The U.S. government announced it was funding Moderna with nearly $500 million. The news sent Moderna's stock price so high that Bancel became a billionaire overnight." End of quote. Comment?
So what the government has done through Operation Warp Speed was a moment that can only happen in America. We were facing a virus. This was the common enemy. This didn't come out of Europe or over governments. What the US government did to say we need to fund 6 different companies, 6 different technologies to be able to get at least 1 or 2 vaccines working. That was really the government did.
Forgive me, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just don't have a lot of time. Everybody else is going to want to ask the question. But here's the point. It was announced that the federal government put money into Moderna. You became, the stock market soared. You became a multi-billionaire overnight. So it's hard for me not to believe that the federal government played a major role in the development of this drug. But here is the main point. I don't want to talk about what happened 3 years ago. We're here today. You're a multi-billionaire. Other people, top executives on your company are multi-billionaires, all developed as a result of the vaccine. And now we have a situation where you are proposing to quadruple the price of the vaccine once the government stockpile runs out. That will mean that not only, and we'll talk about later on the patient assistance program, but in terms of government, in terms of Medicare, Medicaid, other government agencies, taxpayers are going to have to spend substantially more money. My question to you is, given the fact that you have made billions of dollars, that your company has made huge profits, on behalf of the taxpayers of this country, will you reconsider your decision to quadruple the price of the vaccine?
So Chairman Sanders, what we have to do is to deal with the complexity I described, and I'm happy to go into more detail through this hearing. This is not the same product. We used to have 10 doses in each vial. Now we're going to have every vial will have a different dose. This is not the same
I
product.
understand it, but quadrupling the price is huge, and I would hope very much that you will reconsider that decision. It's going to cost the taxpayers of this country billions of dollars. Is that something you can do?
The volume we had during the pandemic gave us economies of scale we won't have anymore. That is why it's different.
Okay. Senator Cassidy.
I defer to Senator